Can you see that?
Sure can. How's it going, everybody? Thanks for joining. We're just getting some things set up on the technical side of things here. Everybody's kind of in different places. We're making sure everything is set to go. Give everybody just one more second to join here and we'll get things started pretty quick. We've got a lot to cover, so I'm gonna make sure we jump in. All right. Jeremy, Eric, you guys ready to go?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for our third official Trout Routes Masterclass. This one we've titled officially, What's New in Trout Routes, our summer roundup. We're gonna be going over kind of the 6 main kind of updates and changes that we made to the app over the summer. We made some other small ones. Make sure to subscribe to our email newsletter and check out our socials. We cover everything that we do within the app there. So if it wasn't covered tonight, make sure you either ask a question. We might have time to cover that at the end of things tonight. Or again, make sure to check out that email and those socials. You can find all the great information there. So without wasting any time, because like I said, we've got a lot of awesome stuff we want to cover tonight. I want to quickly introduce my marketing teammate, Eric. He is our partnership and outreach manager, as well as Jeremy, who you guys already know pretty well, our lead GIS specialist here. So they are going to be helping me to kind of, like I said, run through some of the quick updates, as well as a quick Q&A at the end if we've got time. So if you've got any questions that come up during the evening, make sure to drop those in the chat and we'll cover those right at the end of things tonight here. As long as we've got time, we should though. So, all right, without further ado, let's get started. Eric, you're going to start us off tonight talking a little bit about the updated icons that we introduced back in July, I believe it was. Take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And thanks everyone for joining us tonight. I'm going to jump right in and talk about the improved symbology that we covered earlier this summer. So we had a huge update, of course, at the beginning of January, where we finalized maps for the whole rest of the lower 48. And so we thought it was time to jump in and improve some of the symbology, some of the icons, to make the app more legible and easier for our users to navigate. So our first big step here was to sort of redefine a handful of our icons, redesign them so that they all fit into the same sort of design scheme, to help our users understand what those icons were. Our next big initiative, along with those redesigns, was to adjust some of the color categories that we dropped those icons in. So on my screen here, you can see the probably our most commonly referred to icons in terms of usability. We reorganized all of our water-based features and dropped those into our blue, Trout Routes blue color category. Those are for most of our users and for a lot of us here at Trout Routes, some of the most common data points that we're looking for when we are jumping into Trout Routes. So we have fishing access, USGS stream gauges, boat ramps, and dams in that blue color category. We adjusted our brown color category to encapsulate our land features, which are those fly shops. You'll notice a new icon here for endorsed fly shops, parking locations, campgrounds, trailheads, that sort of thing. And then we decided to take the parks, state and national, and then habitat restoration, stocking locations, and other special events, and drop those into our new green color category. Really with the idea to help our users understand what those data sets were and then help them navigate those different data sets as they're moving through Trout Routes. Looks like I lost the bottom of my image there, but we're really excited about how this came together. It was a lot of fun for us to take a look at some of the older icons that were in the app and make some adjustments and really give that kind of a refresh, kind of breathe some new life into the product. So we think it turned out really well. We've had a ton of really great and positive feedback from our user base. So it's been really exciting to see that all come together. And we're really happy that you as users are enjoying that. one thing I wanted to call out just briefly is that with these new icons and new colorways, one feature that I wanted to remind our users at home about is the filter function. There's a ton of data within Trout Routes. It's what makes it so powerful. It allows our users to find all kinds of different sorts of information about trout fishing. And one way that you can sometimes most effectively make use of those data sets is to toggle data sets on and off by using that filter function. It's a really powerful tool. It can be helpful for users to really isolate the kinds of data that they're looking for. So turn everything off, say, for example, except for fishing access, or do something like connect USGS stream gauges with dams and find some correlation between those different kinds of data layers. So I wanted to just keep that in mind as we're going through the end of summer here, as folks are getting into the new icons. Remember that you've got a lot of power behind that filter function, and don't hesitate to explore and experiment with that a little bit.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Eric. You and I were kind of able to spearhead that initial tackle of those new icons. And I know we both really enjoyed being able to get those updated and kind of make things look a little bit more cohesive and on Trout Routes brand. So we're really excited about getting those out to you guys and hope you're enjoying them as well. So next up, we are going to cover our new, we had them before, but they are much more broad and a lot more in depth now. So Jeremy's going to cover our new data imports.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. So before we did allow some data imports into Trout Routes, and I think the main one was from Google Maps, but we've expanded that because, if you're like me, before you had Trout Routes, you're using other apps, whether they're for hunting or for hiking, dropping pins where your fishing holes were, and we wanted to be able to incorporate those into Trout Routes. We'll give a little demo on that. So before I had Trout Routes, I was using Onyx a little bit. I'll share my screen here.
A little bit's a pretty light way to put it there, Jeremy.
I got a lot of pins. These pins are not my actual hunting spots, so no one take them. But if you did want to export your data from something like Onyx, and if you use other programs too, we'll have some videos up on the website, or you can reach out to us too at our support email for help on those. But what you do in Onyx is just find those waypoints here in your content, select them, and then just hit export down here at the bottom of the screen. And we do now take KML or GPX files. Those are two different data types. They support slightly different things, but generally, if you're exporting points, either one will be fine. You'll save those. Those are going to go to your downloads, just your downloads folder on your computer. And then once you're in Trout Routes, Matt, can you guys see Trout Routes still? You got it. All right.
Yep.
You go to you go to my profile, and then here under account settings, you go to import external data and then upload from computer. And so for me, that's going to be in my downloads, get those Onyx markups, import, upload. And if I go back here to good old state of Minnesota where we were, those markups are going to show up now in Trout Routes. So that's a nice way that you're going to be able to incorporate all your data and keep everything in one place for your fishing adventures.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeremy. Appreciate it. Next, we are going to cover our new Quick Create interaction. That is on mobile. Let me just go ahead and make sure I can share my screen here. I was having some issues with it a second ago. Open. There we go. Looks like. All right. There we go. We're pulling up the app there. You can see that there, Jeremy. Awesome. Thank you for the confirmation. So like I said, we are going to quickly cover the new Quick Create ability that you've got on mobile. So both on iOS and Android, we now have the ability to do not only Quick Create via click and hold, which we'll go over, but also Quick Create we've got via, let's see here. If we, if I want to check out, never been to Haley, let's say Haley, Idaho, I want to check it out. And now there's a lot more interactivity on the map. Before you couldn't click on different things. Now you can click around, quickly create those new markers. As you can see, it'll pick that marker that correlates exactly with what you might want it. We've got a grocery there. Say you want some food. As you can see, it picks that food. And a real easy way to quickly create those new spots as you're exploring new areas, planning out new trips. A real easy way to again, make sure you've got all those spots that you might want to check out on hand, or once you get to the spot that you are visiting, you can quickly and easily find directions to those. Again, you can just click back into those markers and quickly take you to directions within whatever source that you're looking for. So like I said, the other way that you can also now create markers is going to be the nice tap and hold. If you're familiar with Google Maps, that'll be definitely familiar to anybody, or Apple Maps as well, I think has that same integration. So another real easy way that we've just made it a lot easier to quickly create those points that, again, as Eric kind of covered, stand out a lot more from those standard Trout Routes icons. So they're a lot easier to see and are a lot more useful for you as a user, hopefully. Awesome. Let's go ahead and stop sharing my screen here. And moving along, Jeremy, let's have you go ahead and jump into Street View.
All right. Yeah, another really fun project for us to work on was incorporating Street View into Trout Routes. And I'll go ahead and get Trout Routes back up here for you. Something I always struggle with, especially in the driftless where I grew up fishing, is finding streams that aren't completely choked out by weeds in the summer, or finding streams that actually have a significant flow. And so one way that we came up with to solve that is incorporating Street View into our rivers. And so to find a street view point, you'd pick on whatever river you want to investigate, and you'd look for these big orange dots. And so those orange dots are any bridge where Google Maps has actually taken and uploaded Street View. So you can take any one of these dots, click on it, click Street View, and it's going to take you to that river, so you can get a really nice little screenshot of what that river looks like in that spot. And although it is just at the bridges, that's going to give you a really good sense of kind of the character of the river. Is it going to be super small, choked out? Is it going to be a large raging river? And it is pretty fun to play with. We actually have been able to see trout from these bridges, from these street views before we show up to the spot. So can't guarantee that they're going to be there the same day. But it is a really neat tool just to play around with. You can take any river one you've been to before or haven't, and check it out from within the app. And that works with the web version and with your phone as well. And it is live too. And so you can click around, see if you can get a different angle for what you're looking at.
Yeah, Jeremy, I think that out of all the pretty awesome features and tools that we implemented that were new within the app this summer, I think that might be my favorite and maybe my most used. I know Eric and I'm sure everybody saw the video this morning that we posted on our socials. Eric and I hit some water before the class today, and we actually used the Street View a couple of times to just check out some spots before we hit them. We were like, all right, what's the parking like? Is it going to be really worth it? What's the cover look like on the banks? Things like that. So that's been a super awesome tool that's saved a lot of time on the water and just before researching as well.
Yeah, don't check it out when you're at work, or you'll spend way too much time daydreaming about these spots.
Yeah, no kidding. Get sucked in. Awesome. All right, next we are going to talk about our endorsed fly shops. This is something that Eric has spearheaded for the last few months here, and we're really excited to kind of start finally rolling out those shops and rolling out those extra functions and features within them. Eric, you want to take us through those?
Yes, sir. Can you guys see that okay?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Yeah, I just wanted to give another real quick shout out to that Street View. Like Matt said, it was super helpful for us right on the water today. We're fortunate enough to have some service, but it's so powerful just to give you a quick heads up about what's out there without having to make the trek all the way out to the actual bridge or whatever crossing it is. But yeah, let's jump into some endorsed fly shops a little bit. We've kind of been quietly rolling this out over the last couple of months, but we understand the importance of fly shops to every fly angler. And one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is not only having just about every fly shop in the country mapped right in Trout Routes, but allowing those fly shops to really connect and interact with our users. And so what we've done is we've created a network, a growing network of fly shops that we've come to know and really realize are doing great work in their communities, are really passionate anglers, passionate guides, knowledgeable staff, and really, really great resources that we want to help our users get in touch with. And so what we've done is improve the fly shop icon by throwing the Trout Routes logo badge right there. And if anyone is tuning in from Colorado, I'm sure you'll recognize this fly shop right away. We've been really happy to work with the folks at Blue Quill after having met them at the expos earlier this season. But what's really great about this Endorsed Fly Shop opportunity is that it allows those fly shops to sort of curate and customize the kind of information that they display right in Trout Routes. You can see in this case, Blue Quill has guides, tying material, classes, socials, and then you can read a little bit more about them in the description, and then link right to their website there on the bottom. We offer a bit of customization for all these fly shops and are really excited and happy to bring more of that information right directly to our users. If you know fly shops, or if you have fly shops that you really like to frequent, please get us in touch. We would love to continue to grow this network and make sure that we are driving traffic both in person and virtually from our users right to these really great shops and resources around the country.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric. Yeah, I know, I'm super excited to be able to, as we've been traveling around, not only for the fly shows and things like that, but just personal travel. I've been excited to be able to open up the maps and be like, all right, cool. Do we have an endorsed fly shop in this city? And if so, that's the first place I know I'm going. So we're really excited to get that off the board, and hopefully we can get some more fly shops in there as the months go on.
Yeah, one other thing I should throw out there too is that one thing that's great about our endorsed fly shops is that those folks are all pretty knowledgeable about trout routes as well. So if you have questions or want to pick their brain a little bit, we like those endorsed partners because they understand what we're doing, they understand the value that we provide, and we have really enjoyed working with them collaboratively. So keep that in mind as well. If you're out there looking for a resource when you're out in the wild, or if you're going to be in a new region or something like that, these are the spots that you should definitely check out. But of course, every fly shop is a great resource. We want to make sure that we continue to support all those folks.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric. And the last new feature that we are going to cover before that we jump into any questions and covering maybe a couple quick scenarios, we'll kind of do a little round robin discussion for a little bit here, is going to be our line tool update. So we did have a line tool before, but one of the most awesome updates that we've made to that line tool is going to be the addition of a point-to-point distance tracker. So go ahead and share my screen again here. Perfect. And so now it's really easy to quickly, we jump into the line tool here. If you want to say, we want to check out from the trailhead how far it might be to get to the water per se. One thing I will note as we're doing this, if the distance is under 1 mile, it will display in feet. And if it is more than 1 mile, it obviously will display in mile with a decimal point after that. So you can quickly and easily see how far it might be from a trailhead access to the water or whatever it might be. You can do certain floats, those different river miles. You can do that pretty quickly and easily. So there's a lot of different ways that you might be able to use this. And I know I've used it a couple of times. It's a pretty easy way. I think we all know the further you get away from an access point, the better the fishing tends to be, right? The more unpressured fish you're going to find, things like that. So I've used this tool a few times already this summer to find, all right, how far is this access point from that water? Is it far enough to where it's going to trickle off those people and I might find some unpressured fish? So it's been a really cool addition to that line tool, and definitely one that I've put to use, and hopefully you guys are using as well. Awesome. I will go ahead and stop sharing my screen there. And with that, we will kind of start jumping into some of the questions here. So first question that I'm gonna cover, I'm gonna skip over to the questions quick, just because I've got an exciting question that I was gonna eventually get to ask Jeremy. And I think it'll excite people if we start right off the bat, the Q&A session with it. Jeremy. So we've got Hans that is asking, he says, a lot of states have designated trout lakes. Is there any plan to incorporate these trout waters into the Trout Routes app at any point?
Happy to say that there are plans, and those plans have been executed. Pretty soon we'll be able to launch those on the app. I can't guarantee that we have every single pond and ditch, that has a trout in the country, but we're going to be adding upwards of 10,000 trout lakes to the map very soon. So stay tuned. Those should be out within the next month or so. And we'll give you more details on what that looks like and how to use that tool once we officially release it.
For sure. Awesome.
Really excited to see that come together. I know that that's been a question that we have been getting pretty much every event that we've been at this year all over the country. People are really excited about those trout lakes. And we are super excited. I know Jeremy's been working really hard to track all those down, and we're just thrilled to get that in front of everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. So the next one, we've got a question from Paul. So he said, if it's true that a stream will be put in a lower class if it's hard to get to, he feels that might be a little bit misleading sometimes. He said he wouldn't mind spending the effort to get to a stream if he knew it had great fishing, and was wondering if those can be separated, or how to maybe distinguish between some of those streams that we have rated as a lower class because that they're harder to get to, but still might have some great fishing. Do either of you guys have any thoughts on that? I know I've got a couple things, but I'll definitely let either of you two interject first.
That's definitely a tough question. And yeah, and you're right. We do incorporate, whether or not there's good access, whether or not there's easy or at least doable, hikeable access and good fishing to those streams. Right now, we don't have a way to separate, how we ranked those when we went through. And part of it can be, if that stream is really difficult to get to, it probably doesn't get fished a lot, and we don't know a lot about the quality of that fishery. But as we go forward, we are working on some different trails tools, some different routing tools that might give us a little more insight into the ease of accessing certain streams. And so hopefully we can give you a little more clarification there.
Yeah, and I think right now, personally, one way that I'll typically try to wean out whether a stream is rated lower class because it's got bad access or whatever is to use that, we've got the elevation feature, so you can choose the elevation on the stream specifically, or looking on the base map layer, you can see some of that elevation. So maybe seeing if it's clearly a difficult hike into there, maybe that's an obvious answer. Or if you're just not seeing those access points and things like that, that might be a pretty clear and obvious sign that that might be a reason that that's rated a little bit lower, but still potentially have great fishing, especially if it's if it's a feeder stream of a gold class or class 1 stream, things like that. So thanks for the question, Paul. Really appreciate it. Looks like we've also got a couple recommendations in terms of fly shops here. Really appreciate that. Jeff, looks like he's got a question here. Not off topic at all, Jeff. He has a question if we've got any thoughts on adding a hatch tool, perhaps something that can be updated with user info at any point.
Well, that's also a tricky one. Something that we do and that we are carefully avoiding, or at least exploring deeply before we would ever do anything, is importing and incorporating user data into our maps. Just because these are sensitive fisheries, and we don't want people to say, "Hey, I caught 100 fish here," and everybody shows up there the next day. There are ways that we've talked about adding hatch tools, but that would have to be more on a regional base rather than just river by river. So not in the near future on that hatch tool, but we'll keep looking at it.
Yeah, and I think in terms of hatch tools, outside of the tool being integrated into the app per se, I know Eric's had some cool conversations recently about potentially doing some hatch oriented fly packages, actually, that we would be kind of recommending certain fly packages for certain sections of water. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Eric, or not.
Yeah, I can touch on that a little bit. And again, these are some ideas that are probably a ways off, but Jeremy is absolutely right. I mean, it's tricky when you have information that is so seasonal and weather dependent, region dependent, things like that. It really does require an awful lot of moderation to make sure it's accurate, which is one thing that we are very cognizant of. But as Matt mentioned, we are looking at some opportunities with some of our partners in the conservation space and education space to see if there are ways to try and incorporate some things that will be a bit more educational, some of those resources that will help you get started. I think that, for now, the best thing I can suggest would be find the fly shop in the region that you're looking at, get a hold of those folks, because they're really going to be the experts on the ground. And like I mentioned earlier, we really love driving all of that traffic right to those folks because they are going to have the answers you're looking for. Great question, though.
Awesome. Thanks for touching on that there, Eric. So next one we've got is Terrence is asking, not sure, but are seasonal limitations, for example, open fishing versus limited, artificial lure, fly fishing only, catch and release only, things like that, included in the app yet? Jeremy, do you want to touch on that a little bit, maybe?
Yeah, so for a majority of the states, those things are completed within the app. And so you'll find those if you're on Trout Routes Pro. There's our different map modes, which are guide, access, basic, and then regulations. So in the regulations mode, if you go into that, look at your river, you'll see the rivers are going to be completely different colors. Click on the legend, that'll tell you a little bit about what the regs are there. And then also click on the river. If we do have the regs completed for that state, they'll be listed on that stream card when you click on the river. There are a few states that we're still working on. They're really complex regulations and take a long time to do by hand. So
awesome. Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate that. Next one, I think will probably be for you as well. Kent is asking, will you update easement access changes on the maps regularly, for example, yearly?
Yep, we do. We're always updating easement access, especially when states talk about it. One thing that's really difficult for us is when these easements happen at a really local level. So whether it's your town or your county purchasing an easement. And one thing that does help us, so we're not going to incorporate your fishing comments on rivers, but if there are local easements or fishing spots that you feel we've missed, please reach out to us at support@troutroutes.com and we'll be able to update those too. But we are going back, looking at access, looking at what's changed, looking where states have started or stopped stocking rivers, for example, too. So yep, we're keeping that as current as we can.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeremy, again. And one last thing it looks like we've got here, if people want to keep asking questions, feel free. We can stick around as long as people have questions for. Last one we've got currently, though, looks like Mark said he just tried the line tool but couldn't figure out how to set these start and stop points. So let me pull my screen back up here for you, Mark, and we'll quickly cover that. I will just say first off that I am using an iPhone, so I am using it on iOS. Let's see here. Working. There we go. Awesome. So we'll go ahead, jump into that new line again. And if we zoom in down here, you can see down here on the bottom, there's that add button right along the bottom there. So you can add a point. And once you've got more than 2 points there, you can create that line and that'll finish that line for you. And that's where you can change any of those colors. You can change the width of the line type, add any notes, photos, all those similar things that you'll see in those custom markers as well. So definitely feel free to can comment right below or ask another question or leave another comment and let us know if that solves the issue there for you, Mark.
At the bottom of your screen there was being sort of covered up by the Zoom toolbar. But Mark, if you were looking at that closely, or if you have it pulled up right now in front of you, it is just clicking that add button right there at the bottom of your screen. Should allow you to do that.
Awesome. Thank you for making sure that was covered there, Eric. I appreciate it. All right. Well, if nobody else has any other questions or anything like, oh boy, it looks like we've got some more. Oh, they're coming in. They're coming in. People aren't done. They got questions. All right. Awesome. Let's see here. Mark said he was able to find the create button and found it. Awesome. Beautiful. And looks like Jeff is asking here, can you provide any rough ideas of how to use Trout Routes for pre-trip planning? For example, he just returned from the Colorado South Platte, but probably didn't use the app much in advance and was wondering how he might be able to do that next time. Jeremy, you want to quickly maybe run people through a quick example there while I sort through some of these other questions that just came in?
Yep, will do. Bring Trout Routes back up here again. So it really depends on the type of trip you're planning, but we could go with that example. If you're going to Colorado, out by the South Platte, just making sure we had some of those fly shops that popped up in the chat there. Shout out to the fly shop in Reading. Someone mentioned them. Great shop. Got me on my first steelhead when I was out there. So, if you're going to the South Platte, the first thing you're going to see if you're in the more famous sections of the South Platte, you're going to see that those are gold here between, I think we got 11 Mile Reservoir and Spinney. That's going to be the Dream Stream section. So you're going to see that that's gold. That's probably going to be some of the better water in the area, but that's going to be probably some of the more pressured water in the area too, especially if it has a name like that. You'd expect a lot of people to be there. So if you get to the region and you get to your stream and it's totally covered up with other people, the first thing I would do is maybe start looking for some of those greens or some of those blues. And so this is in the Trout Routes Pro version, I should say that, and we're in guide mode right now. So that's showing our different stream classes. Again, that gold is our stream class, our gold medal stream class. Greens are going to be that kind of next tier, which is going to be regionally good. And so I'd start looking for those or some of the light blues. Those are our class 2s. And looking in this area, I might be drawn to this stream. Looks like it's still kind of in the valley, might be, still drivable, but it's not that gold section. So it looks like it is another fork of the Platte River. And if you wanted to look at that and try to find somewhere to fish, let's say you're just off the highway, looks like we have this green section here that's touching the highway. We show green as public land. Those are, whether that's easements or national forest, state park, that's going to show up in green here in our guide mode. And if you want to look at that river and see if it even looks fishable from that point, again, check out that street view. That looks like a great spot to fish. Looks like there's an easement. I think it was on that, was it that south side or that east side of the road? Either way, you could check out what that looks like. If you want to remember those points for trip planning here, you can just click that spot, create a marker, drop a pin, whatever you want to do. We do, like Matt talked about, we do have those, or I think Eric talked about, we do have updated pins now too. So I just probably drop a fishing access icon there. If you were curious about regs, someone brought that up in the chat before. Over here on our map layers, this was again the guide mode that's going to show you the stream classes. If you click on regulations mode here, you'll see that that section is actually a completely different color. You can click on the legend here and see that, orange does have special regulations that's going to be different than a lot of streams in the area. Click on that stream and read under regulations here. It looks like there's a slot limit, 12 to 20 inches, and anything between 12 and 20 must be returned immediately. So that's another great way to trip plan. Hopefully that answered some of your questions. If you do have any more specific questions, please reach out for sure.
Man, that regulations layer is definitely underutilized by myself, and I'm sure many others. It's really nice to be able to check all those things and be able to see all of that without having to use multiple different websites and things like that. You can do a lot of stuff right within the app.
Awesome. Last thing I'm going to throw out there for Jeff would be to check out the first masterclass that we've got on our YouTube channel. Jeremy really deep dove into some other ways to use trout routes, especially geared toward e-scouting. So that would be another great resource to give a watch through and kind of follow along as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna suggest that to Kevin there. Looks like we had Kevin said still learning the basics of the pro version. Does the YouTube app YouTube channel provide more detailed education? And yes, it sure does. We have posted, like Eric said, we've posted one of our other master classes where we really kind of dove deep into the app, as well as a few shorter snippets that go over some of the kind of more high level features and things like that. So definitely make sure to check those out. Awesome. I think we had one pop away. All right, Art, looks like Jeremy took care of you there. Yeah, I'm sure he would love to hear about any of those campgrounds that we might have missing. Awesome. And looks like we've got one here from Frank that just came in. When creating a point, the name box contains the name of the previous point he created. He's wondering if that might be a bug or if he's doing something wrong. Frank, I can answer that for you pretty quickly. It sounds like that might be a bug. I am going to go ahead and pin that question there and make sure we send that over to our software developer and see if that's some sort of active bug or something like that. If you could do us a favor and send some sort of screenshot with that over to either myself, Jeremy, or Eric. We have all of our personal emails on the website. Otherwise, or I should say our work emails on the website. Otherwise, you could send that to hello@troutroutes.com as well. That's another really easy place to shoot that over. We would love to see a screenshot of that and make sure we can take care of that if that is an active bug. Awesome. Well, I'm gonna say it without being certain, because last time I said it, all of a sudden we had a bunch roll in, but it looks like the questions have slowed down. So I want to go ahead and say thank you to Jeremy and thank you to Eric for joining me tonight and jumping into some of the new things in the app this summer. Like I said, that's just kind of the high view of some of the main 6 things that we updated or added to the app. Again, there were more things, one of them being, I know we jumped into a couple different directions, buttons within the app, and you saw from mine personally, it jumped right into Apple Maps. I'm an Apple Maps user, so just as of a couple of weeks ago, if you're an Apple Maps user, you can make sure that instead of taking it to Google Maps, having to copy over that GPS coordinate into Apple Maps, you can now just jump that directions right from the app into your Apple Maps. So real easy way to kind of just make that a little bit more seamless and one less click that you have to do before you get on the water. So awesome. Well, thank you again for everybody who joined us as well. We really appreciate you taking out some time on your Thursday night to join us and learn a little bit more about the app. So thank you guys, appreciate it. And if you do want to take a look or take a peek at this again, we will be uploading it to YouTube tomorrow. So definitely check it out again, share it with all your friends, make sure they know what's going on with the app this summer. So hopefully you guys have some great fishing and tight lines, everybody.
See you next time.